We're back on video again.
Mom was the one who convinced me this time, believe it or not.
Would you not follow the rules?
If I was a senior, I probably would follow the rules. If I was a freshman, it'd be a lot harder. And I'm just being honest with you. I think it's just cool to see people are adapting to the times and not letting it stop them.
Well, because people want to see gymnastics.
Everybody, welcome back to the Routine Podcast.
Gymnastics Conversations.
I'm Chelsea.
I'm Chelsea's mom, Diana.
And we're back for episode 89.
Almost 90. I know. We do it every time, but it's almost 90, Chelsea.
Woo!
Yes.
That deserves some celebration.
I think it does. And then 100. Oh, we got to do something big.
I know, right?
Big.
Who knows when we'll get to 100, but...
the pace we currently are going.
It'll be 2023.
Yeah. No, we might just all of a sudden have a splurge, just like
knock
boom.
Them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Lots of news, lots of gymnastics. Let's just go.
All right. The news cycle's kind of slow nowadays.
I was going to say this episode won't be like that.
Yeah.
But it's a good episode.
I know, right? You're already telling people to click off.
I didn't know. I'm just saying it won't be the boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
It will be the boom.
Welcome. Hello.
We're back on video again.
I know. Mom was the one who convinced me this time, believe it or not.
I did because Chelsea edited both the video version and the audio version. And the video version...
Mom, no. You edited the audio version.
Well, no, I did the first run through of the audio. You're still going to...
Yeah, that's true.
Right. You still got to do you with that. So you're doing both. And when you look at both, I hate to say it, but the video version is better than the audio version. But for those who just listen to audio, it's good too. It's good. But the video version is, for me, it just felt more interesting to watch. And again, we're saying almost the same thing, right?
It's a lot more engaging.
I think so. And again, it's the same content. It's not like we changed content. Although we did leave some things in the video version that you won't hear in the audio version. It's just that you see us, and it just makes a difference.
Expressions
right.
Go a long way.
Right. Right. So I think it was worthwhile to do it again. Again, we're still waiting to hear back from our listeners and viewers to see what people think.
Yeah, what have you learned now that we're in our second video episode? What have we learned from the first episode?
Right. Is there a preference?
Oh, I'm asking you.
Oh, you're asking me.
Yeah.
I thought this was like a question, like you do the question thing.
Oh, well, that's a good question too.
Right.
But what about you? What have you learned? Good question, right?
Yeah, I actually learned that I was most afraid that from a video perspective, I had to be like sharp and know what I was going to say and how I was going to say it. But I found that I'm saying the same thing and doing the same thing. So doing it through video really didn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. I learned that maybe for the audio versions, I've been editing a lot more harshly than I needed to. As we discussed in last episode, I'm a perfectionist, so
yes,
I tend to go like a little overboard, and I kind of do that in my life.
Yes.
So like knowing that...
Didn't we just go through something this week where you were doing that? Where I'm like, Chelsea, let it go.
Just do it.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but it was something.
Me just living, probably.
Yeah, it's like if we're cooking, and well, I was gonna say just wing it, but of course I just did some winging of some sauce.
I wouldn't call it sauce.
That I was trying to make. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, it was not great.
No, so. It was like throw it out bad.
Yeah.
Couldn't use it bad.
But anyways, so I've learned that maybe moving forward, it's okay to have a couple of hiccups in the audio version. Like we don't need to sound absolutely perfect every time, like you said.
Agreed. And I think for me, like you're forgiving of yourself in terms of how you sound. For me, it's also being forgiving of how I look.
Mom, why do you always say that?
Because thank you, daughter. But it's I think the same thing. Like, you know, you don't have to have a lot of makeup on. You don't have to have the best outfit on. It's just you. That's what makes our podcast us. Mm-hmm. That what you see is who we are.
Except she did just tell me to go change, so.
You had a sweatshirt on with a hood.
I know, but that's what I wear. That's like me.
Yeah, but I think that's too much. I think if we were outside doing it, perfect. But inside the house.
I know, but I wear that.
All right, next time. Hoodie up.
We're forgiving, remember?
Good point. Okay, next time. Next time, wear your hood. You zipping it up and tying it up and everything?
Maybe not that far, but.
Okay. We're forgiving.
Any other updates you want to share?
You know what? We just passed a holiday weekend. And, you know, I think all of us are going through, you know, whether or not we're able to spend time with our families during the holiday weekend. And just spending time with our families in general is, you know, obviously very important for all of us now, especially with the pandemic. But I was able to spend the most recent weekend with my daughter.
That's me.
That's Chelsea, my son, and my future daughter-in-law. And they just called out of the blue and said, hey, we want to come and fix a holiday dinner for you.
And we said, come on by.
Yes. And so they did, and they have a brand new puppy, Hugo. They have a rescue that they got from a place in Virginia. And so, of course, you know, we have 2 golden retrievers. And then Hugo came. And Hugo is a mixture of, I think they did some genetic testing of his siblings. And he's a mixture of lab, a herd breed dog, which I can't remember what the breed was. But so we had Hugo, who's the 4-month-old puppy with the 2 golden retrievers.
He's got some energy. And one of our dogs is a little bit
older.
Grumpy.
Older and grumpy.
Yeah.
So that was happening. But then my son has a brand new smoker that he bought. He has decided that's his new thing. So he did this dinner with a smoked shoulder or something or another. Pork shoulder. And he literally put it out at 4:30 that morning. Mm-hmm. Watched it all day, all morning, all day, all night. And like at 9 o'clock at night, we ate this nice piece of pork shoulder. And they put the mac and cheese in the smoker too. So we had smoked mac and cheese and then homemade peach cobbler.
It was.
You know, maybe we should have like a podcast about food because we talk about food all the time.
We do.
But it was nice. So, you know,
really nice.
For those who get the chance to spend time with their family, you know, enjoy every second of it. I have sad news to report in which my daughter has decided to move out.
You could have said that a lot differently.
In the morning, as a matter of fact.
First of all, I never really moved in, to be fair.
I think so. In March, you did
Not
move
purposely.
So I went upstairs today just to kind of check in.
Scared the bejesus out of me.
Me and the pups went upstairs, and Chelsea's got all her crap packed.
Which, again, wasn't a lot because I only brought 2 weeks' worth of clothes.
Yeah. And I noticed she was washing clothes all day today, but I didn't really think anything of it. I was working. But then at the end of the day, I go up to say, hey, tennis is going to be on. And she's like packed.
Ready to go.
I'm like, so when are you leaving? She's like, in the morning.
Mom, I'll be back.
Well, you got to have the whole corona-free thing, so.
I'll be back.
So anyhow, that's the sad news to report. So that is, you know, what's also prompting us to go ahead and do another video recording because I don't know when we'll record again.
Yeah.
With Chelsea going away.
Yeah. I know you're ready for me to leave.
I'm not ready for you to leave, but I'm okay that you're leaving. How about that?
You're ready for some fresh air.
Probably.
But I'll give it like, you'll miss me in like...
I miss you already, and you haven't left yet.
You'll miss me in like 4 weeks.
You think it'll take that long?
Actually, no. I think you'll miss me.
In the morning.
Yeah, you'll miss me this first week, and then you'll get used to it, and you'll be like, well, all right.
How about you with me? Are you like ready to like, I gotta get up out of here?
No, I'll miss you. Period.
You heard that, right? That's what's happening.
I will actually miss you. I'll miss you during the day.
I think again, it's going to be the pups that you're going to miss.
I'll miss all of you. I'll miss the house. I'll miss everything.
Yeah. So that's the news.
Yeah.
When Chelsea says what's new, that's the news.
Right. Well, now that you made everything a little sad in here.
I'm not the one that's leaving.
I know I am.
I know. But you know what makes it sad for me is what we talked about in the last show, which is we will never do this again.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't think you can look at it that way, though.
But it's true.
I know, but maybe just don't think of it that way. Just block that out of your mind.
Okay. That's what's happening, though. But you know I'm that person. Like, I'm the person that it's like everything's like a chapter in a book for me.
Yeah.
And when you finish that chapter's over. And then, of course, you're starting a brand new chapter and whatever's in that chapter of your life. But you never are able to go back to that previous chapter. So that's what makes me sad.
Yeah, that is sad when you think of it that way.
But to your point, don't think of it that way. Don't think of it that way.
No.
No, nope. Okay, is it time to talk about gymnastics?
Well, the thing
is that sad too?
Yeah, it doesn't get much better from here. So, because of coronavirus, there have been some programs that have been cut.
Really?
Which is very sad.
Should we talk about something? Should we talk about something happy first?
See, the thing is, we don't have a lot on the list to talk about, so... Coronavirus really just threw a wrench into everything.
Wow. Okay. Some schools are continuing. Some. Let's do that. Some schools are continuing. They're practicing safely. Mm-hmm. They have invested a lot into equipment. Mm-hmm. And when I say equipment, I mean like
HVACs.
Yeah, and machines that kill all viruses upon contact of anything.
Yeah.
Like, $100,000 pieces of equipment.
Yeah.
Just to be safe and be safe for the athletes. Some have, as I think you were sharing an article with me from College Gym News, they have divided their teams into pods.
Yeah.
And these pods stay together all the time in terms of equipment and practices and roommates so that, you're keeping folks together. And it's really kind of you and your pod making sure that people aren't doing silly things to bring the virus in. So I think schools are being very creative.
I'm just curious when they talk about this whole pod situation and you practice with the people that you're rooming with, which is all great in theory, but we've all been to college before.
You're not going to stay in your pod?
That's the thing. Like, what's like the longevity of this pod? Am I just supposed to only hang out with these people all the time?
Well, what would you do if this was you right now?
Well, I don't know what the protocols are.
The protocols are you do. You stay with your pod and you don't go
outside of gym.
Yeah. And
I only eat with these people.
That's right. That's right. And if you're sick of the people, you go to your room and you don't come out of your room. But you just make sure that your pod mates aren't, going partying and then coming home. Because that's what would drive you nuts, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I want to give people the benefit of the doubt, but I don't envision that happening.
Would you not follow the rules? I'm just going to make sure we go back to if this was you.
If I was a senior, I probably would follow the rules. If I was a freshman, it'd be a lot harder. And I'm just being honest with you. Senior year, you're old. You just want to compete, be done with your last year.
Got it.
There's not really much. You've seen it all in college. But freshman year, it's like you're on campus.
But what if you knew that if you didn't enforce that rule, that you were that one person that brought the virus back because you did something stupid and went out and partied? And
I think that would be really tough, but I'm sure there's a lot of peer pressure going on.
yeah.
And I'm sure...
Which direction?
Where you see, oh, well, they're doing it, I might as well do it. Or even if it's like, oh, well, he went last week, nothing happened, so I'm sure I'll be fine if I go out.
I thought you were going to say peer pressure saying stay in your pod so we don't get anybody else sick or don't get anyone sick.
That might be the case. It might. I'm far removed from the college scene, so I don't know how these whippersnappers think.
Well, let's hope. But we say all that to say.
But, I mean, we've also seen evidence of how a lot of these college campuses
They're not
have
athletes,
all played
though,
out.
but they're not athletes. They're not athletes. They're not disciplined like athletes are. They're not scholarshiped like
I think you're giving
athletes are.
athletes a lot of credit here.
I don't know.
And I'm not only talking about gymnasts.
I'm not
You gotta
either.
include like the football players.
Well, I could, but in this case, I'm including gymnasts who are in pods. That's all I'm talking about now. And I think of the teams and the teammates you had, I think your 3 or 4 in your pod would be paying attention to the rules.
I think so too, but I also know 110% that there would be probably like 4 or 5 people that just wouldn't care and would do it anyways.
That weren't in your pod.
Yeah.
Agreed. But again, your pod is safe. And your pod is wiping down the equipment before they get to that other pod. And your pod is eating only with your pod. So the only folks that would be affected and infected is that other pod.
Yeah.
And you would say, I know you. I'm not being in that pod.
Yeah, I know, right? You
Right?
know which people and it's like, all right, you do that, but I'm not. But that would also like create so much friction in the gym because you know that you are paying attention and those people just don't care, and they're putting season at risk at that point.
And that's where the other peer pressure comes in.
To stop.
The coaches are going to say it, and then the other gymnasts are going to say to that pod, you got to stop, because if you don't stop, then they'll come back in the gym.
You know.
I don't know. You're
Yeah,
right.
you don't
It's not like
know.
I've ever, obviously done that. Now, I was an athlete in college. Let's just not forget that.
I was gonna say something, but I just took it back.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. We don't need to hear what you were going to say.
Okay, but so you know how athletes act. I mean, college students, it doesn't just have
Yeah,
to be
no, I would have
athletes.
stayed in my pod.
I know, but you are above the norm.
But I would have been with people who would have stayed in the pod.
Okay, but you know there's also people out there that would have
did.
been like,
I
screw the
did.
pod.
Yeah. I don't know. But we'll see. I think the point of this was that schools are being very creative and ways to protect athletes.
Yeah.
And keep the sport moving in the fall.
Yeah.
I guess this winter, but fall practice, winter competition.
It's so cool to see that a lot of teams are still practicing, but they're practicing with masks on. So, for example, Missouri had a video on Twitter of Helen Hu doing her bar routine with her mask on.
Wow.
And like the call to action was, I can do this with my mask on.
Oh,
what can you do
wow.
with yours?
That's really cool.
Yeah. So again, it's like encouraging other people to wear their masks.
I wonder if you can do that in a floor routine.
Wear a mask.
Uh-huh.
I mean, the way that, like, for example, Kentucky also is training with masks on. So, like, it doesn't look like they're changing their training just because they're wearing a mask.
You'd have to try to be getting a lot of air in, I would think.
Yeah, but they're throwing, like, your Chenka 1.5.
Wow.
Everything. with a
Okay.
mask on.
Well, and if I'm doing that, then surely you can stay in the pod. That's what I'm saying, right? If I'm
Hopefully.
practicing and on floor wearing a mask, surely you can.
And I think that's kind of like the sentiment behind Missouri's post, where it's like, we're doing all of this. We're doing like all of these extremely hard skills with masks on. And to the public, please wear your mask so that we don't have to do this in the future.
Right, right. And this is not us trying to make a political statement.
No, not at all.
Although you should wear a mask.
Yeah. Please wear a mask. Yeah. So I think it's just cool to see people are adapting to the times and not letting it stop them.
Well, because people want to see gymnastics.
Yeah.
They want to, get back to normal and watch the sport and be a part of the sport that they love and enjoy.
I will say, though, that in some of the articles I read, like, even the coaches are, like, a little iffy about whether there's going to be a season or not.
I think it's too early to tell. I read an article in the paper this morning, as a matter of fact, that the second wave is coming and it's going to be worse than the first wave. And I'm hoping they're wrong, and I'm hoping I read wrong, but yeah.
Which is why I said before that I don't think there will be a season.
Yeah, but this is one of the times we don't want you to be right.
We should bet on it.
No, we shouldn't. We should just hope for the best on this one.
Okay, so can we go back to the sad news?
We did. I think we did a really good kind of bridge
Yeah.
before we just kept going down. So that's good.
Yeah, so a lot of programs have been canceled because of coronavirus.
Really?
Yeah. So far, there's been 3.
Oh, 3 programs. And in gymnastics, that's a lot of programs.
Yeah.
Division 1?
2 Division 1s, 1 Division 2.
Okay.
So Seattle Pacific,
Which we were worried about at the end of our
Last season.
Last season, yeah.
canceled their program effective immediately.
Was it just gymnastics, do you know? Or was it more programs than just...
I think it was... Ooh, I don't even know.
Okay, well...
Is that important for you to know? I mean, I can get my Google machine working.
I can go on my little iPad and try to find it, but
don't even try.
it might take
Don't
me...
even try.
It might take me a minute. I'm just curious as to the decision of the school and whether or not gymnastics was the only program. I'm guessing it probably wasn't, but I don't know the answer to that.
Well, this article just says gymnastics.
Okay.
So.
Wow. And you know what? It may not be that COVID was the blame, but COVID was the last straw.
Yeah.
Because they were looking at doing this even before COVID.
Yeah. Which, I mean, a lot of programs probably knew they were on the kind of red zone. Mm-hmm. And then whenever they saw the long-term effects of COVID, they probably knew.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Another program, unfortunately, was William and Mary.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really sad. In Virginia, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's very sad.
Yeah. And then also Alaska. But those 2 programs aren't until 2021.
So the current gymnasts, assuming there is a season, will be able to compete.
Yeah. So hopefully, like you said, there is a season, or else that's it for the programs.
Wow. And let's also hope that that's it, that there's no more.
I don't think it is. I hate to be like so, but...
Downer Debbie, what isn't that?
Right? I'm just thinking realistically.
I think it's because she's leaving in the morning.
Oh my gosh, that's not true.
I think she's a little down.
No, I think I just know the landscape here. Gymnastics is a really hard sport for athletic departments to keep.
Is it because of the cost? Why?
I think it's just like a combination of things. If they have a facility on site, I think it's fairly expensive.
That's true. The insurance liability, who knows what that is?
Yeah.
I would think it'd be higher, but I don't know that than other sports. I don't really know that, though.
It doesn't really bring in the money. I will say...
For some schools. For most schools.
Yeah, for most schools.
Right.
I will say, though, that Title IX is on our side.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but Title IX can't protect all sports, clearly.
yeah.
But it does a good job of protecting many of them. So let's hope that that's it, though. Let's hope that COVID and the impact that it has. And I know we talk about the impact on sports, but obviously it's been an impact on people's lives,
Yeah.
livelihood and lives. But let's just hope we can get our arms around this disease and kind of
Move on.
move on. I'm glad you helped me come up with what to say, because I didn't want to say go back to normal, because
There is no normal.
not anymore. It's going to be a new normal, whatever that is.
Yeah. So that's all I have.
Well, I do think, though, we're lucky enough that we got the chance to talk to Rebecca
Yeah.
from College Gym News, right? Part of what we struggle with in having the show is what exactly is happening from a COVID perspective.
Yeah.
And
We don't want to bore you with our small talk.
our kitchen cooking. But as you know, Rebecca's been on our show a couple of times, and she has shared with us things that are happening in the various divisions that we weren't aware of. And so we thought she would be the perfect person for us to talk to about what else is happening due to COVID. And we're truly excited to be joined with Rebecca from College Gym News. Hi, Rebecca.
Hello, good to hear from you guys.
It's so good to hear from you. Before we started recording, we shared with Rebecca that Chelsea's at her place and I'm at my place. And Chelsea's a little nervous that I'm going to, be free and not get kicked under the table with what I say. So, but I'm excited by this. So, Rebecca, how are you?
I am doing okay. Virus-wise, things have been stable in New Jersey for a while, so I'm really still not going very far, but things are feeling a little more normal again.
Just a little bit, right? I truly agree. We're in Maryland and it feels a little different than it felt in like March, April, May, right?
Some of it might just be that we're kind of accustomed to it now.
Yeah, or that we're just tired of it. One of the two. And I think, you know what, too? I think it's the change of seasons.
That's true. I'm very excited about cooler weather.
I lived in Savannah and loved Savannah, Georgia, but it's 365 days of almost the same weather. And I realized when I moved there, while I really love the sunshine, I love seasons better because it really helps me kind of move from one part of the year to another part of the year in my life.
Absolutely.
Yep. So I think some of it for me too is that summer's over and it feels like fall too. The crispness in the air feels good too.
Definitely.
So Chelsea, you're going to keep letting me talk about the weather and not stop me, huh?
I mean, this is a gymnastics podcast. We don't really usually talk about the weather. But I was letting you have your fun.
This is what I love, Rebecca. I can just talk about stuff like this. All right, so we'll do gymnastics, Chelsea. You go ahead and start. How about that?
Okay, yeah. Obviously, not a lot has happened in the gymnastics world over the past couple of months, but what are your thoughts on preseason and COVID?
I'm of the perspective that nobody should be training for a good while yet. I wish it weren't the case, but I do think it is.
Interesting. I actually feel that same way too as well. Especially thinking towards season, I think for the greater good, it might just be okay not to have anything happening at all.
We've heard about outbreaks in club gyms for sure. I'm fairly sure that we have had cases on college gymnastics teams based on social media. I don't think anything is a crisis yet, but we've seen in other sports how bad it can get, how quickly.
Sure. And let's just go back to the club. We have heard that there have been outbreaks in some of the club gyms, because I was wondering, Chelsea and I do the whole, would I be making her go to practice now? Because of course I made her go to practice all the years before. So it's like, now with COVID, would you have made me go to practice every day? But we have heard that there have been some issues happening in some of the clubs.
It's not an easy sport, I don't think. People talk about it being possible because it's fundamentally an individual sport, but there's a lot of a gymnastics gym that is just not easily cleanable. That's very troubling to me. It's not as easy as I wish it were.
Well, it's funny you say that because Chelsea and I did have this discussion in our last episode where I said, it's an individual sport. You're over there and I'm over here. But
Mhm.
you're exactly right. It's the use of the equipment that you just can't clean as easily after every gymnast.
I've heard of teams who have very robust pod structure where they have groups of like 5 or 6 who train together, who only see each other out of the gym. And then sometimes there are individual responsibilities of cleaning themselves as they leave an event. They carry their own bags. I think that's the most safe way to do it.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, I think it's what you said at the very beginning. This is just really, really tough. Although I think I hear from what you and Chelsea both are saying that the answer might be that from a public health perspective, the right answer is to stop.
Nobody needs to be training. Nobody particularly needs to be on campus. Though now they are on campus, it might be worse to send them home. I don't know. I think just hit the brakes on the sport, hit the brakes on everybody's eligibility for a year, and try it again when it's safer.
The public health non-expert in me says that we should just take a break because this virus is so unpredictable. Why put everybody at risk when it's not necessary? But as we all know, the NCAA clearly has other plans. So I'm
Yes.
curious to know what you think the NCAA's decision will be instead of thinking about what we would like to happen.
Well, that's a good point, Chelsea, because we
It
just
is.
saw what happened with the Big Ten for football, right? They decided not to, and then they decided to. So I think that's a good question. There's that money question again, right?
Obviously, there aren't quite as many interests pushing in gymnastics as there are in football.
That's
But
true. We are pushing though.
yeah, I don't know. It's difficult to say. I feel like at this point, the NCAA has made its call that sports are worth the risk. What I'm interested in is conference by conference. It's very plausible that the Ivy League won't do gymnastics this year because the Ivy League was really the first to pull the plug in March.
In Ivy League, it's about academics, right? That's their number one thing anyway. So sports is secondary.
Definitely.
So it's a little bit easier, I think, for them to make that decision than it is for those schools where sports are the thing, right?
hmm And the massive, massive endowment money doesn't hurt, I'm sure.
That's so true. Yes, I can say no because I've got a whole bunch of money in the bank.
Exactly.
Okay, so Rebecca, can we talk to you about, I'm not going to say news you can use because of course that's what Chelsea would say, but Chelsea sent me a email. She sent it to me via email that we've got a new coach at Southern.
Yes. It's been a little bit of drama. My understanding is that the University of Bridgeport as a whole university will not exist after 2021.
What?
Yes, it's done. COVID has been kind of the kill shot for a lot of struggling institutions. And we saw this happen with an acro and tumbling school earlier in the summer, that just the entire university shut down. But they have been bought by schools in Connecticut, and it will just kind of continue to function as a satellite campus for those universities. From everything I've heard, the University of Bridgeport is not really communicating any of this to its students or its athletes.
This is a big secret, I guess.
Yeah, everything they know, they're reading it from the news at the same time
Oh, that's
as we
bad.
are. So yes, I've talked to some really, really unhappy team moms.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody will actually look them in the face and say your team is cut.
Wow.
Of course it is.
It's useful for our listeners to know how dominating that school has been for that conference. It's not like any school. I mean, University of Bridgeport's gymnastics has been really good over the years, right?
11-time defending champion of that conference.
Yeah, because we were always curious as to how the coach at that time was able to get the quality gymnast from throughout the world that he would get.
Yeah, it was really a dynasty that was built in a kind of unlikely place.
This coach who was head of Bridgeport all these years has now moved to Southern Connecticut, Chelsea's alma mater.
Yes, and it is very interesting because he graduated from Southern Connecticut himself.
Yeah, he was on the men's team, which is really
Yes.
interesting.
So that sounds like then that school at least plans to, at this stage, continue doing gymnastics this year.
I really hope so. And I was really, really excited for Southern when I saw the news because I was a little worried previously. The team had a really difficult 2020 with some very weird coaching situations. Ended up pulling their retired former coach out of retirement to finish the season with them.
I can say, as a former athlete at Southern, I'm definitely very excited about this coaching change. There's a lot of talented freshmen coming in, but there were already a lot of talented gymnasts on the team. So having a coach that will be able to push them, then get this program back and running again, I'm excited to see what the future holds for Southern.
Yes, for sure. There are definitely a couple on the roster. I know from video how good they are, and I really feel like every week, this is the week you're going to get a 9-9, and
Right.
I want that to happen.
Me too.
Rebecca, let's switch gears and go all the way to the other coast. And I know that you gave us the first warning about this actually last year about Seattle Pacific. I think it's another school that looks like it's not going to survive.
Seattle Pacific is completely cut, no going back, unfortunately. And it was a very strange situation because the athletics director wouldn't acknowledge that it was anything to do with COVID at all. I think he said that the team had to be eliminated for philosophical alignment. We do not know what that means. Nobody knows what that means.
But you know what? He probably thought about it all night long. This is what I'm going to say.
There's a whole boardroom behind the phrase philosophical alignment.
Right? The media person, everybody's like, okay, this is what we say.
And that was brutal as well because they decided among the department to cut the team weeks before anybody was told. And in that intervening time, they let the team sign a new freshman onto NLI.
No.
Yep.
Wow.
Yes.
Other schools that you know about, Rebecca, that you have found aren't going to be continuing?
The other one that we know is cut is William and Mary. They are currently in the process of fighting back. I'm not very optimistic about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you've seen there's lots of discussion about the number of men's teams that have been cut, putting the whole sport into a critical position.
Yeah, that would not be good for men's gymnastics.
Do you have any information about the new gymnastics program at Long Island?
I do, and one of our writers, Mary Emma Burton, has been keeping track of it very, very closely and has written a couple of features, I think a couple, about it already. She's planning to continue that throughout the whole season. So we have a lot of good material.
Well, that was one of our concerns that because it was a brand new program, would it survive COVID and everything else? But it sounds like so far so good.
The athletics department is committed at this point. I've definitely heard some rumors that the athletics department is not in the best financial shape because they've been adding sports so quickly. We'll see how that pans out in the long term, but I will be surprised if there's anything within the next couple of years.
Right. Oh, well, Rebecca, this has been so fun getting all the updates.
Yes, I have had a great time as well.
Hopefully we get to catch up again, especially as you all continue to do all the great work that you do on College Gym News.
Absolutely. We're really heading into the meat of recruiting season. So we have our potential lineups series starting and several other recruiting things that everybody gets to be surprised by.
We can't wait. We can't wait. And you know what? Maybe at some point we talk to you about fantasy gymnastics. What happens to my fantasy gymnastics team?
Oh gosh, I know. What if you get Kaya Johnson on your team and then LSU gets quarantined for 2 weeks?
Exactly.
What do you do?
Maybe they'll have to make a special rule for that. I don't know.
Great. We'll do that at our next time we talk.
All right. It was great to talk to you guys.
Okay,
Thank you, Rebecca.
So glad you're doing great. Thanks for talking to us.
You too. Have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye. And speaking of College Gym News is your one-stop shop for all things college gymnastics. For event coverage, leotard rankings, in-depth features, fantasy gymnastics resources, and more, visit collegegymnews.com.
And if you're interested in supporting CGN's expanding coverage, visit collegegymnews.com/donate.
College Gym News, all the college gymnastics news you want, all in one place.
Speaking of COVID and college gym news, they actually had an article about how things could play out this season. Since teams are all across the country and traveling isn't really the best thing that you can do during COVID.
Right.
One of the things they talked about was having virtual meets.
How would that work? What do you mean by virtual? Let me just help me understand.
Yeah, so this is something I think we actually talked about with the president of NAIGC.
Okay.
And how...
Oh, I remember.
Yeah,
Okay.
so you would record the routine, and judges would judge it from wherever they are, and then they would give the score.
That's an idea.
Yeah, but I think there's too many, asterisks, because, I mean, some of the points that they brought up in the article was that not all landings are the same. Not all equipment is the same, which I think is fair. It's not really fair to compete against someone when the variables aren't the same.
Well, okay. So when you talk about the equipment's not the same, each beam is A high,
Spoken like
wide,
someone that's never done gymnastics.
or beam.
No, trust me, all equipment is
Okay,
different.
no. I mean, it wobbles differently. It feels differently.
No, bars. Some bars are so bouncy, and some bars are so stiff.
Right. No, I get that. The floor's bouncier than others. Absolutely. But they're all, standardized equipment that we all use. They just feel differently. I mean, it's like me playing tennis, which I do. Some courts are clay, some are hard court, some are red in color, but it's still the same lines on the pavement.
No. If one team has a bouncy set of bars and then another team has a stiff set of bars, it's just not fair because they're not on the same equipment. And sometimes teams that are used to training on bouncy bars, then the team that comes in that is used to really stiff bars, they know that they could probably gain some points on bars because they're used to this equipment.
Right, but if I am Team X and I train my team on my facility and the equipment in my facility, whether it's bouncy or not, then my team is really good on my equipment. And if I'm Team Y, I do the same thing. I train my team on my equipment on Team Y. And that's just a handicap we both have.
No. Okay, so what about vault? What if one team has a landing that's just a lot easier to stick, and then the other one is just really hard?
What means the floor is harder?
Yeah.
I think it's the same question. It's the same issue. It's like for me, we've been watching the U.S. Open, or we did watch the U.S. Open. They made a way to continue to have, the tournament. Same thing with basketball, right? Same thing with baseball. We can try to be creative or say, woe is me, we can't do anything.
Well, I'm not saying, there's other options besides, if that's going to happen, I think that should be the last option.
Okay.
I just think there's better ways besides.
What's the first option for you? I'll put you on the spot. Miss, there won't be a season downer Debbie.
I don't know.
I don't want to do
really
virtual.
If I had the opportunity to just sit down and really think about
What
the
you
best
been doing
way,
all summer?
not thinking about how to run NCAA gymnastics.
But this, just so you know, this is kind of our thing, right? This is the perfectionist in you, and this is the let's just try in me.
I just don't think it would turn out well.
It's not going to turn out perfectly, but it's going to be something versus nothing.
I like your idea last week better than that, though.
I don't even remember what I said last week.
I like you stay over here, my team stay
like
over
that.
here. No one's in the arena, and we're just competing.
I like that too.
So I was gonna ask you, because we're doing this marker every episode.
Yes.
Do you think there will be season? Sounds like you are very much still
I
on
definitely
board.
I definitely think there will be, except again, I read the article this morning about the second wave. That scares me. But assuming that there is no second wave and we just kind of get rid of this virus, or it's like it is right now where people are really, really working hard to try to have things go again back to as normal as it can be, then I think there will be a season.
Our international listeners are probably what the heck is wrong with you guys? We're still struggling over here, guys.
No, but I think there will be, because I think there needs to be. I think the time of not doing anything, set at home, shelter in place, that time is really going by. I think people are now, okay, how do I live with COVID in our community or in our world? How do I continue to live and do what life is about? And so in that respect, I think there will be. Yin, you?
I think I am starting to lean more towards there will be a like piece together season.
Okay.
But I still am like, I'm like 60-40 on 60. There won't be a season at all. 40 on they're trying to get something together.
Which is progress compared to where you were when we last spoke.
The only thing for me is that the NCAA, I was going to say they don't have resources, but
Oh, yeah, they got resources.
that statement is not true.
Yeah, it's not.
It's
Although
just,
they're
where
not
do they,
making the same resources
Yeah.
that they were making before COVID. So
and because of that, where are they willing to spend those resources? And is college gymnastics one of those places?
I think so.
I don't think so.
I do.
I don't think so. Out of all of the winter sports,
But again, think about ESPN and the coverage that's been dedicated to gymnastics.
no.
Know what?
I mean, it is, but in comparison to some of these other sports, it's not there.
I think
It's
we've
come a long way.
Yeah, but I think we've talked about this enough today.
But as always, let us know what you guys think. Do you think there's going to be a season? Are you on my side? Are you on Mom's side? Are you on your own side? Let us know. You can tweet us. Our Twitter is @RoutinePodcast. You can email us at info@theroutinepodcast.com, or you can leave us a voicemail on our website, theroutinepodcast.com.
And you do that by going to the top of the page. Actually, nope. You go to the episode that you're most interested in. Click that, go to the top of the page. You'll see 4 buttons. One of those says voicemail. Click the voicemail button. You'll see a microphone. Click the microphone and leave us a voicemail message. And tell us what you think about this video.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, tell us what you think. Is it worth us doing it? Keep in mind, because Chelsea's leaving in the morning, we don't know when we'll do this again.
Yeah. Let us know. See, she keeps doing this, but like I know inside her little heart, there's a little party going on. Like, yeah, she's leaving.
Little party.
But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.